So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I found to work really well for me and in the business, and hopefully it will help you in your entry. Feel free along the way to ask questions. I'm not stuck to my slides, and let's just make it more of a conversation. So I think that there's two sides of branding that would help you in your entry. One is design. So we'll go into that first. I think the most important are the 3 C's: color, contrast, and call. Call would be your action. So under color, it's important that you know that color conveys different feelings or messages. So silver, sleek and tech; blue, cool and calm, and you can kind of go down the rest of them. These are a little bit more specific to design, but if you've never been around that type of thing, it's important to keep that in mind for your overall message. Contrast is important because it will draw your audience's eyes. Choose complementary colors, which is the opposites on the color wheel. So if you wanted to go, if you knew that your logo color was going to be a magenta, you'd go the opposite for your complement, which would be a green. Just basic kind of color information. But it really does work. It draws people's eyes directly to what you need. Also, complementary and contrasting ideas. So space, like you're not used to seeing, fill the space, go high, go low. If there's interaction, that's something that people aren't really used to, so it's a bit of a contrast, and it draws people's attention. Tone, like we talked about before, as it relates to color. And then size. Again, large is really commanding. You don't want to have a poster with teeny tiny type. Call. So find your tagline, your motto, or your mandatory, the purpose of your product. Who does it affect? Does it affect college students? Does it affect the business professional? It's important that you know in the beginning, as you're branding your product, who your target audience is. And then kind of a thing that I do is, what would I want my users to tell their friends? It makes it a more personal search, instead of let me come up with a tagline that's catchy and kind of gimmicky, something that would be relatable to people, and knowing your audience.
My apologies.
Hey. Go on. It's important to know your audience. It could be on each end of the spectrum, so you don't want to gear your colors and your tone and your size to kids if the opposite is what you need it to appeal to. The next thing under design is tell your story. Connect with your audience on a personal level. It helps to relate your product and your idea to tell the story, to connect what brought you to this, what was the need that you saw outstanding. Because people on the street, they realize that you've been working on this, but what drew you to it in the first place? Because this is the first time they're learning about it. What talents brought each member of the group together? So what strengths did you see a need for your idea? The solution, the problem, and then how can the user use it? So this is just kind of telling the story of where you started from, because again, I've gone to a couple of the showcases and I was automatically pitched an idea, but I had no grasp of, okay, where did this start? Why would I use it? It was just like, here's my idea. And it was kind of jarring because I needed to know the reasons for why the person was bringing this idea to us. Yeah?
How would you use this exercise to start with design? Like you mentioned showcases, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So I guess a lot of the pitchers were assuming that you get the feel of the story with their booth.
Right.
Which they obviously failed at, but what would you do? What would you do differently?
Well, knowing your audience. So say your booth is about bubblegum. So you know that your audience generally are younger people. So if you have pictures, it might be pictures of younger people to attract someone that wanted to look at someone their own age. For color, it might be, again, the tone of the pinks or In a handout, you might connect the history of how you decided to sell bubblegum. You know, there's not enough people that do it, or you think yours are better because they taste better. So giving that background, like in a handout, gives a person the whole story of your product. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So these are really specific to the audience. We know that in the dog food one, I think it's dog food, we know the most popular dog is a yellow, larger dog. It seems to be the most popular, so we know that a large majority of people might be drawn to this booth versus we know that not a lot of dogs that are black are adopted, hence a lot of the black dogs are in shelters, that kind of thing. So the larger group of people would be drawn to a poster with a popular dog. And then again with the runner, we don't see a face, so it would be easy for the viewer to put themselves on that body, to become personal with that product. Whereas if we saw a man, we can't even really tell, I think it's a man, but if we saw a man and a woman was looking at it, they might not be as interested. Yeah, I think so. But it's kind of vague. We want it to be relatable to the person in the audience that you're targeting. Mm-hmm.
Recently, better to have sort of an anonymous symbol for people to actually think they can substitute themselves into it,
Yeah.
as opposed to something that they like themselves to be. Like I saw like a gentleman was steroid with jumping on
Mm-hmm.
amazing pecs. Like that's what I was amazing pecs. Right.
Right.
I mean, that's not as effective as something that's
More vague. Right. Because maybe it's unattainable. Maybe it's something that they talk themselves out of and they say, well, I could never get there, or it will take too long. It's more in the far off future. Whereas if you were showing at a bodybuilding contest or a competition, it would make sense because that's the target audience that you're surrounding yourself with.
For the general, like it's totally unrelated product, right? Like you're showcasing a sports watch.
Right.
That doesn't really rely on how built you are. It's better to just go with a very neutral.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Under design also is user experience. This is every detail that connects the user to the 3 C's we talked about: color, contrast, and call. You want to, the goal would be to envelop the viewer, the reader, the tester in your product's brand. Either to find a way to engage the audience or let them interact with your product, or again, envelop them in your branding. So the first two are ways, shows ways that you can bring the audience to test out or try your product: iPads, a laptop, some kind of touch screen. Yeah. Screenshots are good. I think as long as, if there's a lot of detail, I would make them big so that someone doesn't have to come in and look too close, because they're probably going to get a lot of people to look at your booth, hopefully. And the easier it is for them to look at and read and kind of absorb, I would say the better. And then the third one is a brand that was recently launched that, again, envelops you with the brand. You're surrounded by the product, a lifestyle, coloring, everything is surrounding you. With minimal cost to create some kind of display like this. It's really just banners and large imagery.
Do you know how much flexibility the contestants have in the booth? Is it a space designation, or is it a table that must be a booth?
Yeah, actually I can tell you those details. It's in the guide as well. So you have an 8x8 square. And you have to fit in that 8x8 square. Stepping outside of that starts to encroach on somebody else's space, and we can't have that. You can't hang anything on the ceiling or on the walls, or stick anything to the floor, because that's just offensive to our host venue. And we will provide for you table and chairs, but you don't have to use them. In fact, we're going to provide for you table chairs and a table skirt, which is plastic also.
freestanding.
freestanding, right.
Can it go as tall as it wants to?
We typically recommend to do 8 feet in
Mhm.
height so that you don't run the danger of, hitting something. I can tell you that the hole that we're in is much taller than that. So 8 feet, you don't have, the last event that I was in there for was for a Christmas tree event, and, there were 30-foot Christmas trees in it. So you don't run that danger. Do keep in mind, though, that you're the one setting this up,
Mhm.
and you're the one tearing this down after about a 12-hour day. So I don't know if you want a 30-foot.
Well, the other thing to consider too is if you're going to show your product at other conventions or other areas, usually 8 foot is a regulation, so then you can use your items again.
Right.
So,
Slightly off topic, how are the locations assigned?
Those we do, so we don't split them up by in progress versus zero code. We do it strictly by interest. So if we think that something is stronger than something else, we probably will put those in the corners to get traffic flow through those areas. And then we assign everything else. So if we know that we have 2 teams, or one team that has 2 projects, obviously we put those next to each other so they can coordinate better. And so it's laid out that way.
You say that road was about 8 by 8.
That rug is 8 by 6 on that thing. I can tell you on this slide right here, the picture on the left was from our very first year. Second year. Thank you. Second year. That was one of our contestants or our competitors, and in fact, in back, if you can look to the piece of, it looks like a tin almost. That was Austin's booth. That's Austin's booth. And then the picture on the far right, also for Nature's Joy, that booth right there. She's right. It was fairly low cost. A couple of banners, some lighting, large pictures, good branding, and Tessa created that, which she didn't fail to mention.
just an example.
Why'd you choose that kind of lighting? And what kind of lighting is that? Is it diffused somehow? Diffused?
It's just attached on top of the banner.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of the banners that if you order them from a vendor, they'll supply that as well.
Which if you go to like vistaprint.com, you need to send them higher resolution.
Yes.
That's like a must-have. You have to send them high resolution images. But Vistaprint will do stuff like this for you,
Mm-hmm.
like $70 or something. And we can get local vendors
Right.
to do very similar costs. So shop around a little bit.
Right, and they're really they're portable, so they snap off and they condense into like
Stands?
they come with stands. Mm-hmm.
Pardon?
Where are we at?
We're going to be in the Pacific Southwest building downtown, or sometimes it's called the Security Base building because that's what's around the top. If you go downtown and you look for the tallest building, that's the building. We'll be in the ballroom.
It's important that you do some research if you care about the brand that you're putting out there. See what else is out there, see what's popular, see what the trends are, and definitely climb out of your box. If you do something, I think Irma talked about earlier today, that she drove her Mini Cooper into a trade show or convention, and I'm sure it caused a lot of stir because it was totally out of the norm. It's not what people expected, and that's where you'll get your audience, is thinking differently. This is an example that I thought was great for climbing out of your comfort zone. Also, when you're gaining advice on what to do or how things look or the brand, remember that the people that you ask are going to affect what you get back. So if your target audience is teenagers, it's probably not a good idea to ask your grandma what she thinks, because you'll get an opinion that matters but might not matter in your product. You could hire a designer. That'd be easy.
Are there any around?
I don't know, they're pretty busy. So the second half of it is execution. So now that we know a little bit about design and aesthetics, let's go into the execution. Your booth. There are cheap options for big impact. We talked a little bit about it. Curtains, are very inexpensive, and they give you kind of big bang for your buck. It's a big amount of color. They're long. You can put them together. You can get them at Walmart, Target. You can come up with a stand, or I'm sure if you go online, there are things that you can attach it to. There are online rentals that do booth rentals. A table, I didn't know that you guys provide the table, so that's a nice cost that you don't have to think about if you need a table. You can rent a TV or bring in your own monitor, something that relates to your product. I wouldn't necessarily bring in a TV or a monitor if it's not something that your audience would use to understand your product. If it's just because you like monitors or you want some kind of TV flashiness, I wouldn't recommend it, but if it relates to your product and you need to show the steps to purchasing a chair, it would be important to show a slide or have some kind of imagery. Retractable banners on the high end, they're about $350. That's usually like a local vendor, but like Arms was saying, they do come less expensive. One large banner that you saw in the previous slide, let's look at these. The one in the back on the far right, that's a large pistachio nut. That one is approximately $1,200 to $1,500, and again, that's a local vendor. So online, it is possible to purchase them for less, but I wanted to give you a ballpark. So when you create a banner or a poster or anything, it's really important that your logo is towards the top of any kind of large format. You're going to have people walking through the event, and so you want to be able to see your brand above all of the people and the crowd. As people come to your booth and start reading information, they will scan the banner, but that name recognition is probably the most important. And then below, I just show some examples of use of curtains with color and a table banner with the table. It does work. It's low cost, but it does work. You could also build your own. This is an example of one that was built and not ordered. And it kind of helps with thinking outside the box, thinking of things that haven't been done yet. Less common. It's important that you have something supporting the information that you're showing either on large format or on a monitor or a video. Give people something. Chances are they'll read it more after the fact, after talking to you, and it'll kind of connect the dots in their head to explain your product more. In your handouts or your takeaways, it's important to show the call, the story, the experience, and the contact. These, again, help kind of connect the dots to explain your product after the fact. These are just examples of good takeaways. One's a handout, and one is just a flash drive. It's my opinion that a trifold brochure is a little bit overdone. It's almost like junk mail. You've seen so many of them. You probably won't read through it. It's also a large area with probably too much information. You're going to lose the audience's attention pretty fast. So I would suggest a single handout, postcard, something that's quick and concise. It'll also save you a little bit of money.
What was your opinion on the differences like the flash drive? You're going to draw anywhere from $5 to $10 a unit.
Exactly.
You're not doing it simply to get your logo on there.
No, but you want your audience to use what you're giving them. So if it's a sticker, it depends on if they'll stick it on their laptop. If it's, like I saw, I'm trying to think, a bag, they'll probably use it for the event, but after that, will they use it? Maybe not. So they may not remember your product. Whereas a flash drive, your target audience is people that are interested in tech and interested. So that's why I think it would almost be worth it, because they would continue to use it. Other people would see it. It would pass on your name a little bit.
So like with flash drive, CDs, and those kind of things, when you get something, you're going to have something on there for them.
Right. Right.
Yes. Yeah, if you where
Right.
you get the benefit. But people typically, these days at least, because flash drives are so prevalent, they grab them as throwaways. You know, so they grab them because because buying them is, why would you? You know.
And the other thing on the handout, your logo should be probably the largest because that's the purpose of the showcase, is to get people to learn more, to go to your website. It's not a lot of information, as you can see on this one. It kind of tells you briefly what the app is about, gives you a general picture, again, not terribly specific. I would say less is more.
Look at it, you had a real nice graphic.
Mhm.
QR code, that was it.
That would be enough.
When you think of that logo, the QR or something,
I tend to like it. I think I like things that are,
Did you design it?
no. No.
Looking for bias.
No. I think logos that are minimal in font variation, so it's like the same font that's thick and thin, I think are stronger than if they had just a ton of fonts and a ton of graphics. It seems concise and simple. I like it.
you don't think that could possibly be mistaken for a QR code rather than the logo itself?
Could be. But it's a different color. It's got a gradient.
Just real quickly on the
Sure.
flyer like that,
Yeah.
just want to put like, what's your, how they contact you, you know,
Yes.
Twitter, Facebook, all
Yes.
that, all that.
Yeah, as concise, again, envelop your audience as concise as you can be. If they took that flyer away and they didn't have anyone to ask questions, they could get enough information for themselves.
Kind of a related question. I don't care about firing customers because I know I got another year before we can be ready. So if it was an interview for me, I want to bring content. So, but I know there's the audience. I'm not saying but in that example, why would I go down this road? Or what's some alternative way of thinking about it? In terms of, I mean, the judges are coming through. There's a third vote
Yeah.
besides the in-private.
So that's a really good question, and one that I was going to actually address after her presentation. But so the judges don't judge you on your booth per se. Like that's not one of the items in the breakdown of judging. That's just not what they judge you on. They do judge you on your delivery and the way that you present. So when they follow you back around and they come to you and you're not really engaged in what you're doing, then that's going to have an effect on them. But if you are engaged in what you're doing and you care as much about what you're presenting to them as you were the day before, then that's going to reflect on your score as well. Why would you do something like this? If you're a year away, you should still be collecting email addresses. If you're selling something. If you're 2 years away, you should still be collecting email addresses. Your email address list is gold. And that's a different talk altogether, but your biggest sales day is the day you email your address list and say, hey, we just launched, and then 40% of those guys go out and buy something. So that's your biggest sales day ever. So that's why this would be interesting to you, but maybe not from a winning the competition perspective.
But it might be helpful to give a business card that says, go check this website out, and that website, they input their email address as like a directive. So maybe something smaller.
Or just to go back to, the business card, I think everybody should have one in the first place. Whether it's bumping phones together or whatever it is, just to trade contact information. But her interactive idea about collecting those addresses, I feel would, for you, be a lot stronger in the situation you're in, being a year away. Having people type in, that's a warm yes. Yes, I'm interested.
Mhm.
You're inviting them into your inbox, or they're inviting you rather into their inbox. So it's a really good opportunity that day to collect 1,000 email addresses.
Mm-hmm.
You expect roughly 1,000 people, and we have an approximate that now?
Yeah, we're expecting between 1,500 and 2,000.
What kind of people? I mean, from what sector, demographic?
We're getting a little derailed right
That's
now,
all right.
so just answer this real quickly. We're expecting a lot of them will be just spectators. They want to know what's going on in the technology community. There'll be some media. There will be some people who are looking to headhunt and hire people, there will be some people who are looking to invest. So, and those, the last three that I named are more like in the 5% of what we're expecting, and the rest are just spectators. And when I give that range, anything from like teenagers who are interested in the industry to veterans in the industry who want to know what's up.
I'm assuming if there's a certain demographic that we're interested in, and we want to do like a mailing the week before the fight to come down, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and I'll start sending, or we will start sending emails closer to the event that says, bring your own audience. You know, the stronger you bring an audience, the better off we all are, really. You know, because we're going to promote, we're advertising, we're putting the name out or the event out everywhere. But you know, you bring 50 people, and this guy brings 50 people. That's even better. You know. Or 59 people.
So here are a small list of resources that are low cost. You can get everything from posters to curtains to lights at Walmart, IKEA. REI might have crates or, you know, depending on what your product is, Costco. Some online vendors, Poster Garden, they do booth production. PS Print and Overnight Prints, they're great for inexpensive business cards, flyers, Tiny Print, Smooth. Local vendors like Mega Prints, City Press, Dumont, and even Office Depot, just to get your supplies in order.
Just out of curiosity, we know like a one-page.
Mm-hmm.
How many sheets do you think 50?
Too many? Well, it depends on what your audience is.
And it depends on how aggressive you are at your booth also.
Right.
So you will definitely have several hundred people walk past your booth. Whether or not you engage them is up to you. You know, some of them will be there and say, okay, tell me what your thing is. Some of them will walk past and wait for you to say something to them. So,
And it could be that you have 50 of them, and then you only give that flyer to a select few that you feel like are actual leads. After you talk to them, you reach it back and you grab your flyer.
something like 50 to 100 would be a good start. But if it's something you're planning on using again, you know, go for the ream and get the price discount.
Feedback on these methods when you use the logo language yourself.
I have. That's why I listed them. Well, I think Dumont's like cream of the crop. You're going to pay a little bit more, but they know what they're doing. City Press is great for digital prints like flyers, mailers. I think Mega Prints, that's pretty much all they do is large format, so I would say their prices are pretty competitive. Office Depot, you're going to pay a little bit more actually than some of the printers, just for convenience. For business cards, I would probably order online. Your quality is not going to be as good because they're going to do them in bulk print runs, but you'll get them really, really cheap. Yeah. I think Irma's right. If you can gain their contact information digitally, that's more valuable to you. Yeah. I think at this point, I can't see a great value in it.
You know, I'm maybe the worst networker there is in the world. And
Kind of
I'm
like
always, what's that?
It's kind of like a break the ice too. It's just kind of something that.
Yeah, but I'm always surprised where my business card pops back up. And they'll say, you know, you gave me your business card at wherever the hell it was.
Right.
And then I'm like, did I? You know? So,
Right.
and then I'm glad that I did because of whatever reason, whatever they wanted it for in the first place. It's always better, for me, I almost never will give a business card. I will wait to trade it with somebody.
Right.
So if they offer it first. Or I have a stack on a table somewhere or something along those lines. But I never, you know, some people will go around a room and just like dish them out like playing cards. That's not really my style. But I'm always surprised because I'm the same as you. I get stacks of them. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with these things anymore, you know? Once they're in my contact list, if that ever happens, you know, it's just paper.
Mhm.
But I am always surprised by how often it comes back to me, and they'll say, yeah, you gave me your card at whatever. And I'm like,
Mhm.
did I even go to that? So.
Plus, you never, knowing your audience, if you're targeting the investors and you're targeting the people that are searching out a product, they're going to be interviewing a lot of people. And how are they going to remember you? Probably from your card that they stuck in their pocket. So it's just an easy way for them to remember you. That's all I have. Any other questions? Yeah.
What about pushing the food?
What about what?
The food, like, is it just the competitors?
Or just boost strategies, like, we have somebody out front,
Two babes.
hook them in.
Extremely hot tall models, yes. Two babes.
I think those are tacky, honestly.
I would say put your best face forward. Someone that can talk really well about your product, because you're going to get all kinds of weird questions. So put your best face forward, I would say. Yeah.
I was just curious about on one of your early slides on call, you used mandatory as a noun. It seemed like I was wondering just what was actually meant there. Is that just some terminology?
Let's go back and try to be able to understand a little bit better.
Because you were saying like tagline, something else,
Oh,
mandatory. Yeah.
I see what you're saying. What do you want your user to do? Do you want your user to try it? To read something? To
Sign up, register, call, all those kind of things.
right, an action that you want your user to do.
Okay, I just hadn't heard it used that way before.
This one?
Yeah, and just the mandatory is what was throwing me off. I wasn't sure what was actually meant here.
I guess mandatory would be what's the most important.
You have a lapel mic, but I don't hear you microphone now as amplified. Are you? Oh, no, the next question.
Moving on.
That's all right. You had a list of colors and their feelings and their passions, right? What's brown? It's not on the chest.
Oh, brown. I would say more nature, outdoors. Well, in a way, it's kind of bold, but it's more subdued than black. So it's not as in your face, but it's still strong.
Painted my house brown, and when he was coming back and saying,
That's what I'm going to say.
Are your windows brown too?
Be sure to ask me.
Somebody asked about strategies. Who was strategies? Who was it? Was you?
Ask about move breaks.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a little bit about the day itself. This is a weird place to sit. I'm going to spy you. I need another stool for you because now I'm above you. But if I sit next to you, it's going to look really funny.
It's fine.
All right. So, the day, there's a lot of traffic. So there's definitely an ebb and flow to the day, okay? And so it'll start trickling in, and then there's like this explosion of traffic to the point where there are many times throughout the day where you can't possibly talk to everybody who's walking past that wants your attention. And that's a lot of fun and also really frustrating because you want to be able to talk to them, but you can't. You get at them because you're still talking to this guy while that other guy behind him clearly looks interested, and 3D, they look interested too, but you can't just restart your pitch, right? So you need to work it out. You will know your product so well by the end of the day. And you think that you know it well now, but you don't until you spend 8 hours on the floor pitching it over and over again. If you've never done that, you haven't lived. If you spend the time to get those 4 or 5 sentences down, this is what we're doing. This is what it does. Thank you for coming by. Here's my card. Whatever it is, like whatever your thing is, get that thing down because you kind of need this, like, I don't want to call it the hug and roll, but it's like the handshake. Hi, thanks for coming by. Here's my thing. And if they want to go into detail with you and take up time, you need to be able to pass them off to somebody else. There are those people. Those people that just want all the dirty details of what did you write it in, and what's the algorithm, and what's the, it's like, you need to be able to roll through people a lot faster than that, you know? So you want, hopefully, if you can manage it, you want somebody else standing by that can get to those dirty questions for you. And you keep rolling through people, whether it's you or somebody else. But Tessa's right. You have to know your product because you're going to get some really odd questions. Like, how many users did you have on the third day? You know, and did you know any of those users? Did you go to high school with any of those users? Did one of them have brown hair? And it's like, why are you doing this to me right now? I'm in a trade show. I'm like, this is an expo, right? So, but like I said, so there's an explosion of traffic, and then it'll start to die out during the end of the day when everybody's getting ready for the awards. But there is a point in the day, and it's a ton of fun, but it's also crushing, where you can't possibly get to everybody. So you need to be able to roll through these people a lot faster than you think you're going to need to.
You use strategies to close a conversation that, like, you want to stop that conversation because you want to get over this.
Yeah, and the best way is, let me give you my card. Can I shoot you an email, or let me get your card. Can I shoot you an email about that? And then you really quickly write what the question was on that card, and you put it in your pocket. And then switch the cards with them and move on. Yeah, and they'll be like, yeah, and then they'll go to another booth. Most of the time. If not, then you're just going to have to, here's some tape on your butt.
I'm sorry, that'd be a good call.
Yeah. The goal of, so we used to tell people this, that the goal of the first 15 seconds of talking to somebody is to get to the next 15 seconds. And the goal of that 15 seconds is to get to 5 minutes. That's when you're trying to get money out of somebody. In this particular case, the only people you're trying to get money out of is the judges. Right? So on the trade show floor, when it gets that busy, you don't want to spend that much time talking to everybody. But at the beginning, that's really good practice. Like when it's sort of, you're just sort of in the middle of that trickle flow of people, then yeah, you do want to spend that much time talking to them. It's good practice. See if they do want to give you money. Maybe they do. So that has happened actually at this expo before. They've come away with a little bit of angel money. So never hurts. Questions about that? About flow? How to pass people off?
Are tasers allowed?
Only on the low setting.
That's enough.
Nobody else? No? Is that good?
The third, zero code in progress, the third one, popular choice.
It's people's choice, yeah.
How's that?
That's a good question. Here's how it worked in the past. The way that it worked in the past was, and I need to talk to you about this. You, in the black shirt, in the ponytail. Okay. Making sure you know what I was talking about. In the past, the way that it worked, we have a sponsor named called Twilio, and they do a platform, cloud-based platform for communications. And they've been a sponsor of ours since the very beginning, since we first started doing this, which has been really great for us. And the way that it has worked is that Twilio sponsored the platform that we use to text about. It's like American Idol, but for ads, you know? So you walk around, not you, but your moms and your dads and your grandmothers and anybody else you can get to vote for you, text in whatever your code is for that day, and we give it to you that day. And the voting is open as long as the showcase floor is open. And I don't know what time it opens yet. It's either going to be 8 or 9 or something, probably 9. Until it closes, which is probably 5, something like that. So as long as the showcase floor is open, people can text to vote. Every team, or every project rather, will be assigned a special code, and they text that code in, and you get a vote. And every phone number, every unique phone number can have 2 votes. So that they can vote for this guy right here, they can vote for this guy right here, that's it, they're done, right? That's as many votes as they get. Well, I thought that was a beautiful plan, and that worked out really great for us in the past, and we encouraged people to game the system. You know, we encouraged people to send it out on Facebook, send it out on Twitter, get your PR campaigns rolling. It's good practice. And some people didn't like that very much. They didn't think that people outside of the building should be able to vote. And so we are, now that we have a board of directors, we are able to reconsider all of that, and there are more people to vote and have a say as to how we should handle that. So I don't know exactly how it's going to work this year. That's how it's worked in the past. We will let you know shortly though. It's coming up.
Curiosity question. If somebody was going to say like in progress, would they also win?
Absolutely. It's entirely feasible for one team to win all 3 if they have 2 projects in the game. His eyes, David's eyes lit up. is QR code scanner.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a whole platform for QR codes. So, okay, let's talk about it. Okay. Anybody else have questions that I can answer? Yeah.
Not so much for you, more for Tessa. But going back to printing materials, business cards, flyers, banners, what kind of lead time is usually required when you send it out to the printer before you actually get it, right? I mean, obviously you can't send it out to the printer at 10 p.m. the night before the showcase. And the sooner the better, but what kind of, like, what's the average for bigger cities?
I'd say average in town, local would be about a week. Resources like overnight prints, they can do it really, really quickly, like 2 days. That's probably about the quickest you could get it unless you want to pay like double your print cost and shipping. So you have about 2-3 day online and then about a week local.
If you plan for like a 10-day lead time, is that like the cheapest you're gonna get it? Like if you get it to the printer 10 days ahead of time and then?
I don't know that it would bump down the cost.
Okay. So overnight is not gonna make a difference?
Local, I wouldn't do overnight. But online, I have done 2 day, and it's been here, you can pay a little bit more in shipping. So local, it depends on your quantities. Your price breakdown is going to change based on your quantities. The higher you go, less it's going to cost. Black and white is going to be cheaper than color. Single sided is going to be cheaper than double sided. All the kind of normal stuff.
I have a question about the menu then. Is there going to be electrical outlets in each square then?
There will be search bars next to you. Yeah. So luckily the venue that we're in is kind of like the hashtag where there's like power everywhere, but only along the walls and nothing in the floor. So we are going to run power into the middle as needed. If you're near a wall, then obviously that's easier for you. We're still going to run power next to you. But yeah, there's going to be power near you. And we'll take care of all that.
And just the Wi-Fi connection menu?
Yeah, and then we'll have Wi-Fi for you as well. And this is something that we just recommend. If you've ever been to a tech conference before, Wi-Fi fails all the time. Like, especially when you try to put that many connections on the same access point. So just, if you can, run it locally or over your 4G or something like that, if you can. We are going to say that we're going to have Wi-Fi for you, but yeah. So, and then, you know, as we lead up to it, we're going to say, hey, don't forget to bring your own extension cord just in case, you know. So we'll remind you of those types of things. But for the most part, I think nobody's ever used them. We ask you to bring them like as a backup, like a fail-safe, in case you need to like plug into your neighbor or something. We always have plenty of power. Except for last year when we blew a couple of breakers, but we worked that out also. The Holiday Inn, never mind. The Holiday Inn had to call corporate to bump up their allotted Wi-Fi for their access points because we were sucking up all the juice for, like, I guess all the Holiday Inns like, in California region. Yeah, so, and they were like, then started locking us out because they thought something was like happening, like something malicious was happening. I guess nobody on the events team had called corporate and said, hey, we have a tech expo happening, so, yeah.
Impressive.
Last year in President.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then they looked where it was on the map and they said, no, that can't happen here. That's not even, that's 3 hours from the bay, it's not, yeah.
Is there an ISP in that building?
What's that?
Is there an ISP in that building?
In the building we're gonna be in? Yes, they actually, so there's an ISP in the building and the antenna that's on top of the building, they own it. So we should be okay. We should be okay. Hey, is that beer cold or?
Yeah, it is there.
You guys can have some. That's what it said.
Thank you.
The booths are 8 by 8, but how much of a margin is going to be between each booth?
Probably 2 feet, and I'm saying probably because we haven't done the diagram yet.
So we should be able to walk.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. There's definitely walking space between each booth, and that's why you can't spill over, because we have to keep exits clear and, you know, hazards and stuff.
Yeah.
So you will be there this year?
Mm-hmm.
You were there last year, you said, no?
I've been as a spectator, and
Spectator.
I donate some design services normally.
All of them?
Huh?
All the design services? She's done shirts.
More in the background.
And she did the program for us last year. She's done, name it. She did the kickoff flyer for us. She's done
That's you.
She's pretty much saving our life every year. We'd have to shut it down.
So this is why you don't need her.
Is there anything against, let's say, with our graphic artists, maybe having her card out there just in case somebody actually did your graphics for your,
No, absolutely. Yeah, drum up
Part of your
business.
team, right?
Pardon?
It's part of your team too.
Well, she's not really part of our
Oh,
team,
okay.
but she did contribute some work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, drum up business, that's great. And at least in the projects that I'm on, like the graphic artist is part of our team, because without that, it's not appealing. So it's as important as anything else that we do. So, anybody else? Then let's shut down the formal part of this and have some beers, and you guys can ask questions of Tessa. She'll be around for a little bit, and then if you have 59 days of code specific questions, you can ask them of me or Johnny. He sits on the board.
I stand too.
He stands on the board.